We have all seen the heartbreaking clips. A loyal dog sits by its owner's fresh grave, its eyes glistening with what look like tears of pure, unadulterated grief. A rescued cow sheds massive, heavy drops of moisture on her way to a sanctuary, seemingly realizing she has finally escaped the slaughterhouse. Or an orphaned elephant calf, separated from its herd, sobbing uncontrollably in the corner of a rescue center. These images pull violently at our heartstrings because we see ourselves in them. We see a mirror of our own deep emotional pain, and we naturally want to comfort these suffering creatures. But the cold, hard scientific reality is much darker, and perhaps a little unsettling. None of those animals were actually crying. Not a single one. Biologically speaking, humans are the absolute only creatures on the entire planet that weep emotional tears. When an animal has wet eyes, it is not experiencing a release of sorrow. In fact, if an animal were to cry the way we do, it would likely mean a swift death sentence in the wild. Today we are going to unpack the dark evolutionary truth behind why animals don't actually cry, the chilling physiological reasons why they cannot afford to, and the terrifying reality of what is actually happening to an animal when it looks like it is weeping. By the time we reach the end of this journey, you will see your pets and the wild world in a completely different and perhaps slightly haunting light, because the reason behind this biological divide reveals a brutal truth about survival, vulnerability, and the immense cost of showing weakness in a world where everyone is hunting everyone else. Let us start by looking at those viral videos that make us reach for the tissues. When we see a dog or a horse with wet, tear-stained eyes, our human brains immediately perform what psychologists call anthropomorphism. We project our complex, human emotions onto them because our brains are hardwired to look for empathy and connection. But let us dissect what is physically happening in those eyes. Animals do have lacrimal glands, and they absolutely produce tears. However, they produce them for purely mechanical, non-emotional reasons. Tears exist to lubricate the eye, flush out dust, protect the cornea from damage, or fight off bacterial infections. When you see a weeping elephant, you are not looking at grief. You are looking at an animal with massive eyes that are highly susceptible to dust, wind, and physical injury. Elephants have a unique anatomical quirk that humans do not have. They lack a nasolacrimal duct. This is the tiny canal that drains tears from the eyes into the nasal cavity. In humans, our daily tears drain away, quietly down the back of our throats and noses unless we produce too many of them. In elephants, any excess moisture has absolutely nowhere to go but down their face. It is a plumbing issue, not a broken heart. The same logic applies to marine life. Think of sea turtles nesting on sandy beaches, seemingly weeping for their unborn young as they drag themselves across the shore. It looks incredibly poetic, but the reality is a brutal survival mechanism. Sea turtles spend their entire lives in salt water. To survive, they have to constantly pump excess salt out of their bodies to avoid dehydration. They do this through specialized salt glands located right behind their eyes. Those thick, viscous tears are actually a highly concentrated, toxic salt solution designed to prevent dehydration and protect their eyes from abrasive beach sand. If they stopped crying, they would literally poison themselves from the inside out. Even Charles Darwin, the father of evolutionary biology, was obsessed with this phenomenon. He spent years observing chimpanzees, macaques, and elephants at the London Zoo. He noted that while these animals screamed, groaned, and exhibited clear signs of physical and mental distress, their eyes remained completely dry. They would scream, but they would never weep. So why do we do it? If tears are just for cleaning eyes and balancing salt, why do humans cry when our hearts break? To understand the dark truth of why animals do not cry, we have to look at the bizarre and unique chemistry of human emotional tears. Because emotional tears are fundamentally different from standard lubricating tears. When scientists analyzed human tears shed during a sad movie versus tears produced by chopping onions, they discovered something shocking. Emotional tears contain significantly higher concentrations of protein, along with hormones like prolactin, adrenocorticotropic hormone, and leucine and enkephalin. If those sound like chemical gibberish, let me simplify. Those are stress hormones and natural painkillers. When a human experiences intense emotional trauma, our brains literally become overloaded with stress toxins. Emotional crying is an excretory process. We are physically pumping poison out of our brains and flushing it out through our eyes to return our bodies to a state of calm. It is a biological pressure valve. This brings us to the dark, survival-based reason why wild animals cannot afford this pressure valve. In the wild, survival is a game of absolute efficiency and constant vigilance. If an animal were to experience emotional weeping, it would instantly become a target. Think about the physical act of crying. When a human cries, our eyes swell, our vision becomes blurred, and our focus shifts entirely inward. In a concrete modern jungle, a few minutes of blurry vision and distracted focus might mean a stubbed toe or a spilled coffee. In the wild savanna or the deep forest, 2 seconds of blurred vision is the difference between life and death. A predator cannot afford a blurred lens when lining up a strike. A prey animal cannot afford a single tear, blocking its peripheral vision when a leopard is stalking through the tall grass. To cry emotionally is to willingly blind yourself in a world where everyone is trying to eat you. But it gets even darker. Let us talk about scent. We live in a highly visual world, but the animal kingdom runs on chemistry. Many predators have olfactory systems so incredibly sensitive they can smell fear, blood, and disease from miles away. Remember those stress hormones we talked about? The chemicals packed inside emotional tears. If an animal were to excrete those concentrated stress hormones through its eyes, it would essentially be broadcasting its vulnerability to every predator in the area. It would be a chemical lighthouse signaling to the forest that they are weak, stressed, and defenseless. In the brutal economy of nature, showing weakness is an open invitation to be hunted. Predators actively target the weak, the sick, and the emotionally compromised. Keeping your eyes bone dry and your scent completely neutral is a matter of basic security. There is also a fascinating social element to this. Humans are unique because we are ultra-social, cooperative breeders. We rely entirely on our tribe for survival. Because we have developed language, weapons, and complex shelters, we have carved out a safe space where we can afford to show vulnerability. In fact, for humans, crying is a powerful non-verbal signal. It is a silent scream for help. When you see someone cry, it triggers mirror neurons in your brain, forcing you to feel empathy and prompting you to offer protection or support. But animals do not have this luxury. In a pack of wolves or a pride of lions, showing intense emotional vulnerability could lead to a loss of status, abandonment, or even physical attack from rivals within the same group. Cooperation in the animal kingdom is highly transactional. If you cannot pull your weight, you are a liability. A crying wolf is a liability. But does this mean animals do not feel sadness? Absolutely not. And this is perhaps the most tragic part of the story. Just because animals do not shed emotional tears does not mean they do not mourn. In fact, their grief is often incredibly loud, physical, and devastating. They just express it differently. Instead of visual tears, animals use what biologists call acoustic crying or separation distress calls. When a puppy is taken from its mother, it whimpers. When a calf is separated from its herd, it bellows. When an elephant loses a member of its family, the herd gathers around the body and emits low, rumbling vibrations that can shake the ground. They touch the bones of the deceased with their trunks in a silent, solemn ritual. They are experiencing deep, profound sorrow. But evolution directed their grief into sounds and actions rather than watery eyes. Why? Because sound can be controlled. A whimpering animal can instantly stop making noise the second it senses danger. But once emotional tears start flowing, and the physiological cascade of crying begins, it is much harder to instantly switch off. A visual and chemical signal like tears is a lingering marker of weakness. Sound can be silenced in a heartbeat. Now what about our pets? Many dog owners swear their dogs have cried tears of joy when they return home after a long trip. Interestingly, a recent study in Japan suggested that dogs might actually produce more tears when reunited with their owners due to an increase in oxytocin, the love hormone. But even in this case, the tears do not overflow and run down their faces in the way human tears do. Instead, their eyes just get slightly wetter, making them look cuter, more expressive, and more human-like to us. This is a brilliant evolutionary trick. Over thousands of years of domestication, dogs have adapted to mimic human facial cues to trigger our caretaking instincts. They did not develop emotional crying for themselves. They developed a slight physical mimicry of it because they realized it makes us love them more, feed them more, and protect them better. It is survival through manipulation. So the next time you see a video of an animal crying, remember the dark truth. Nature is a beautiful but merciless stage. It has stripped away any physical trait that does not serve direct survival. We, as humans, are cursed and blessed with the unique burden of watery grief. We are the only ones who carry our sorrow in our eyes, bearing a visible, vulnerable testament to our pain because we are the only species that has built a world safe enough to allow us to cry. The dry eyes of the animal kingdom are not a sign of coldness or lack of feeling. They are a badge of survival, a silent reminder of the brutal world they inhabit, where showing a single tear could cost you everything. If this deeper look into the hidden mechanics of nature opened your eyes, Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment below. Do you think animals feel grief just as deeply as we do, even without the tears? Let us know your thoughts and we will see you in the next video.